1968 to 2018. 50 years later, and the struggle is still real. When you look at the year 1968 and 2018, the similarities are striking and relevant today. Not sure what I mean? Walk with me. That year is 1968. Richard Nixon is president of the United States, and both Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy are assassinated. It was a violent time in America, and there was no trust in the government. The high school and college students had a strong voice. They protested and stood up for change against issues like number one, racism. The protest for civil rights and voting rights, March on Selma. Number two, sexism, the protest for women's rights, the liberation movement. Number three, war, the protest of Vietnam War, stop the war protests, over 58,000 Americans killed. Number four, guns, the Gun Control Act of 1968 to regulate firearms. Number five, sports, the protest of athletes at the Olympic Games. Tommy Smith and John Carlos took off their shoes to protest poverty, wore beads and a scarf to protest lynchings, and raised their fists and bowed their head during the national anthem to protest racism. You still with me? Let's keep walking. The year is 2018. Donald Trump is president of the United States. There are mass shootings across the country of children and adults in schools. White nationalist hate groups protest on college campuses. Many women's rights and protections are revoked, and African Americans are still suffering from police brutality. We witness the injustice today in real time. We still shocked. We're still hurt. We still can't believe that 50 years later, we still fight for number one, racism, the protest against racism, the march against the neo-Nazis. Number two, sexism, the march 500,000 strong in Washington, D.C. for fair pay and equal rights. Number three, war, the protest against the war in Syria and terrorism around the globe. Number four, guns, the protest against gun violence. March for Our Life have 1.2 million who protested. Five, sports, the protest of Colin Kaepernick against police brutality. I wear these names on my shirt. Trayvon Martin, Amadou Diallo, Eric Gardner, Michael Brown, Jordan Edwards, Philando Castile, and Freddie Gray. I wear this to remind me that it could have been me. Listen to the message. 50 years and the struggle is still real. Listen up, guys. History shows that most movements are started by high school students and college students. You have the power of social media. Keep that in mind. The power to change your city, your state, your nation, and the world with a click. You are powerful. Stay woke.